It's the Elsa Kurt Show with Clay Novak. Serving up trending news and conservative views. Brought to you by the Elsa Kurt Collection and Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
Oh, well, hey, my friend. Hey, stranger, I should say. You know, anytime a little length of time goes by, I'm like, it's been 500 years.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. I'm not dramatic, am I? No.
It's all good.
No. So we cheated a little. We talked beforehand, just rehashed our Thanksgivings. We both had very nice Thanksgiving. You had a bigger Thanksgiving, I think, than I did. How many people were at your gathering?
Quick math, probably in the 15-ish neighborhood. Somewhere around there.
Yeah, good size. I think we were probably like 10, 12, somewhere in that range. I mean, the kids take up already 4 of those numbers. So, yeah.
Yep, for sure. And you know, that's the best part is that, you know, those numbers keep growing as the kids bring in, you know, their significant others and those sorts of things. It continues to grow and, you know, all that. So, it's a great time of year.
It is. It's so nice. And, you know, the news cycle had the audacity to keep going on and on while we were gone. I mean, hello, everything is supposed to pause until we can get back and talk about it. Rude. Oh, my goodness. Needless to say, there are so many topics that we could talk about. I mean, if we tried to cover everything that's happened in the past 2 weeks, this would be like a 4-hour show. You know, it might be a 24-hour show. We wouldn't do that to you, and we wouldn't do that to us. We've got a good selection, a great selection of all the goings on. Here's a little overview of what we're going to be talking about, guys.
Tonight on the show, an Afghan migrant kills a National Guardsman in D.C., and the White House scrambles for a migration pause. Tim Walz is neck deep in a $1 billion fraud scandal in Minnesota. Senator Mark Kelly tells troops to refuse illegal orders while Pete Hegseth faces war crime questions. Maduro clings to power in Venezuela. Nashville hosts a house race that should not be close. CEO murderer and leftist sweetheart Luigi Mangione is back in court. And Black Friday spending explodes. Elsa Kurt and Clay Novak are ready to cut through the nonsense. Let's talk about it.
Did I even give you a second to speak during all of this?
Sure.
I don't know if I really did.
So we're going to spend a whole hour talking. People get sick of me.
Sorry. I hit that button. I'm like, did I even shut up for a minute? No. Sorry. I will do better, guys. Clay, I will do better for the rest of this. Yeah, because you're usually way more knowledgeable on this stuff than I am. Let's go right with this one. This is obviously, you know, one of our biggest topics going on and just utterly devastating. Afghan national who came in under the Biden era resettlement surge, and he's charged with killing a National Guard soldier near the White House. Another Afghan was caught posting literal bomb making tutorials on TikTok. That's a whole other segment of this conversation that is just, you know, head shaker. But now the Trump administration is pumping the brakes on visas, green cards, and asylum from high-risk countries. And of course, the media, mainstream media, is calling it an isolated incident, right?
Yeah. So, you know, the National Guard still assisting the DC Metro Police in, you know, keeping our nation's capital safe. And unfortunately, 2 National Guard soldiers, a staff sergeant and a specialist, were standing on a street corner when an Afghan national approached them with a pistol, shot them both. She has since passed away, unfortunately. The staff sergeant is still fighting for his life, although I heard today has taken a turn for the better. I had heard regain consciousness. I don't know if that's true or not. But that is the quote unquote isolated incident that politicians are talking about. The blame game, of course, there was no delay in the blame game. There was the typical reaction of, well, they shouldn't have been there anyway, which is horrific. There was the direct Trump put them there. This is his fault. Then of course, there was the they knew what they were signing up for, victim blaming. So there was all of that. In the aftermath, you know, very little, actually none that I saw from the left taking responsibility for or taking blame for the Afghan national. Shouldn't even have been here.
Right.
You know, at least without vetting, which we all know didn't occur in the mass flights, evacuation flights in the waning days of the U.S. occupation of Afghanistan.
Right.
And so this Afghan national is one of them. Now I am still skeptical. I know there's a lot of photos out there of him, of this ID card that supposedly puts him into a CIA funded, trained, and sanctioned special operations organization out of Kandahar.
I've heard this,
which is
yeah.
why he was supposedly given essentially free passage into the United States.
Mhm.
I will tell you that those there are so many photographs of those types of ID cards that could be absolutely forged, that could be photoshopped, that could be a lot of things.
Mhm.
I don't know the validity of that. I don't know if that's in fact who he was.
Right.
But he was supposedly, if that was who he was, if he was working with the CIA out of Kandahar, running special operations, people have said assassination squad, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
If that was who he was, and then he was brought to the United States, he has since been radicalized since he's been here. There was claims of the cry of Allah Akbar before he shot the 2 National Guard members. But he has since been apprehended and is in custody and has been charged 1 count of murder, multiple accounts of attempted murder, etc. That's one. And then, of course, we mentioned the man, giving the tutorials on bomb making on TikTok or YouTube, wherever it was. I think TikTok, which is much less regulated.
Right.
He has since been arrested. And then even, oh, by the way, folks, our normal recording time Wednesday, 4:30 East Coast. But even just in the last few hours, there was a report of another Afghan ISIS-K sympathizer who has been arrested in the United States.
Mhm.
So we clearly have a problem. And the problem that we have is these tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of Afghans who were let in by the Biden administration in the fall of Afghanistan, specifically Kabul, who have come in unvetted. And so now there's a travel restriction going into place. There will be, not just out of Afghanistan, because I don't think there's a whole lot of folks coming into the United States with an Afghan passport at this point, but nations like it with troubled, governmental conditions, Somalia being one of them. But I can tell you folks, everybody says, well, why should they be vetted? Why weren't they? They were vetted. I'll tell you culturally, my experience, having spent quite a bit of time in Afghanistan, all the way from the very beginning in 2002, doing my last tour in what was it, 12, 13, I lose track. And running the gambit of the duties and exposure that I had, culturally, the Afghans are not nationalistic. And this is what Americans lose sight of. Their loyalty goes family, tribe, religion, and then maybe national. So being an Afghan, and a lot of them don't, being an Afghan it's not even a thing for them. One, their lines were drawn by some European guy, in their minds, it doesn't matter. Their tribal lines are more important. Their tribal allegiances are more important. So being an Afghan is irrelevant to a lot of them. So there is no sense of nationalism, national pride. So they can easily be swayed. They can easily be, their priorities can be shifted. They certainly are going to show no loyalty to the United States, no matter what opportunities have been given to them since they've been here. So do they need to be vetted? They absolutely do. Is that difficult to do? Sure it is, because you've got a nation with not a lot of governmental infrastructure. And truthfully, there's no cooperation that's going to happen to get background information on Afghans as it stands right now.
Right.
So this is a problem caused directly by the Biden administration, and there is no easy answer to this. None.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's got to be, but there really isn't. I guess it's not as simple. Maybe it is as simple, at least right now, for the time being, doing, basically exactly what Trump is doing and trying to do, which is just halt all of these, immigrations into our country, immigrations into our country, because there is no way to vet these people properly or efficiently. And then even once they're here, because as you said, the part of the questioning here is, was he radicalized before or after? And of course, there's some saying that it was after, since he's been here. Regardless, really, whatever the case is, he's been radicalized. So if it was here, then how can you monitor? You can't be expected to monitor everyone who comes into this country to keep checking if they've been radicalized. There's just too many people. So you go back to the whole, well, we need to put a pause on this. Then you just have to at this point. It's been just the Wild West, essentially, of people coming in unvetted. So this is the only solution right now. And of course, that makes the left go insane. How dare we? And then that's when they like to quote scripture all of a sudden. All of a sudden they know scripture and they're like, welcome to stranger. Well, obey the laws of the land. How about that? Let's do that first, because that's what you have to do. And by the way, that's also biblical.
And
So-
listen, you and I are not saying that every Afghan is radicalized or that they're horrible people,
No.
or they're terrorists or anything else. Listen, I made a lot of friends in my 3 tours over there. They are, good people generally. However, their priorities are very culturally different from ours, which causes a problem. But there are bad apples in there. Of course. There are. And they were released into the wild as soon as they hit the ground. And, bad apples are going to find each other. So it doesn't take much for this to be a cause for concern for the United States. Like we need to take this seriously as a nation. And if that means that we withhold benefits until they come and report in and we have a chance to the background to vet them, if it means giving them an opportunity to self-deport to a, Islam, Muslim friendly nation, then maybe we provide that opportunity. I would tell you that if they're from southern Afghanistan, in and around Kandahar, members of the Pashtun tribe, that they may have the opportunity to go to Pakistan. They probably have family members, in that what would be the southwest region of Pakistan that might take them in. But there has to be some follow-up. Has to be. We can't just let this go unchecked and hope for the best. The numbers are just way too high.
Yeah. That's just overall the most matter of course thing to be doing at this point. And, frankly, anyone who disagrees with that, pound sand, I don't even care, right? Like, just go cry about it then, honestly, because the safety of our nation and our people are, have to be first and foremost. It's that simple. And that there's nothing more to it. And to your point, and I don't know if I had heard this, I think I deliberately tune things out because it'll make me so angry to hear it, the victim blaming that you mentioned. That, you hear this kind of crap all the time. We hear it as law enforcement spouses, law enforcement families. We hear this constantly. Anytime a police officer, or in this case, military, any of our protectors and defenders, really, anytime they get injured or worse, killed, that is like one of their top go-tos. Well, they knew what they were getting into. They knew what they signed up for. Yeah, they did know. Thank them for it. How about that? How about thank them for being willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for you ungrateful piece of garbage. Yeah. I can say that because I can. Simply I can, but you are if that is vocabulary, if those are words that come out of your mouth, if that is a thought in your head, you are an ungrateful piece of garbage. Period. And I'm standing on that.
Yeah.
And that infuriates me.
As it should. And I think that is, that attitude, that victim blaming, that blaming the administration, that it's all that blame shifting away from, really the person to be blamed is that athlete, right? And then you go to, how did he become who he was? How did he get here? Who are his associates? Like all of those things, the blaming of the victim, the blaming of the administration, the current administration who's trying to clean up this mess for saying, guards shouldn't have been there in the first place. And it's like, okay, well, if they weren't there, we already know what the murder rate was before they were there. Let's want to revert back to that and say, well, people shouldn't have been walking the streets of Washington, D.C. to be crime victims. Like the mindset is completely asinine, but that is where we are right now, which is shameful. So let's, obviously pray for and keep good faith in that the staff sergeant who is, continuing to fight for his life, and hopefully he can get back up on his feet again. And pray give the follow.
I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. I have a question for you. And I don't know if you know the answer to this. As usual with any kind of major story, something like this, there's, as we well know, there's like 50 different versions. Like one of the earliest things that I had read was that both had died. Like that was very early on. That was the report that both of these National Guardsmen were killed. And then, to come to find out that wasn't the case initially. So I don't know if there's any validity to this. So that's why I'm asking if you heard this. I read that one of the other National Guardsmen who came to their aid, came to their defense, was not carrying a firearm. And he actually, is that it? That is correct. And all he had was a knife.
Pocket knife,
and that was how he...
So the initial reporting, as I have tried to impart on you over the last few years, initial reports are always wrong. And the governor of West Virginia got a report that both of those National Guard members had been killed essentially on the spot, or at least once they arrived at the hospital. So he took that report, and unfortunately called a press conference with no validation, or was maybe even in a press conference at the time and announced that the two of them had died. And then, of course, got the corrected report that they were both still alive, and then eventually the young specialist passed away. But yes, I have also read the report that in response to the shooting, I believe it was a major who was not armed or didn't have any ammunition. And you and I spoke, when this whole thing happened, that one of my biggest fears for the National Guard was that they wouldn't be armed properly, protected properly, or wouldn't be given the proper authorities, to be carrying live ammunition, et cetera, et cetera. Why this individual was not armed or not carrying ammunition, I don't know. But I do know his response was to take out his folding knife and go after the attacker.
God bless him.
He waited. My understanding is that the Afghan had a revolver, which typically has 6 shots in it. And in a lull of the shooting, he responded and attacked, jumped the Afghan with a pocket knife, inflicted some damage, and then, they balled him up and took him into custody. So, good on that guy.
Yes.
Depending on how all of this is categorized, it's very difficult because this may not be categorized as a wartime action, and therefore the classification, types of medals and awards and decorations that this individual should receive will depend on how they classify this.
Yeah,
there is something called the Soldier's Medal, which is for active bravery and usually saving the lives of soldiers not involved in combat. So at a minimum, this individual should receive something like that. The Soldier's Medal. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Pretty awesome story, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, incredible. Such, that's talk about bravery. That's what we talk about when we talk about bravery, and why we get, certain people like myself, and probably you too, Clay. I don't like to speak for anybody else, but get really annoyed by anybody referring to being a boy wearing a girl's dress and calling it brave. We have very different definitions of what constitutes bravery, and this was an example of what I would consider bravery. So yeah. Oh my goodness, let's move on to this chucklehead. Oh man, he just really steps into it, doesn't he?
I thought after the election we were never going to see him again.
I really thought that too.
Such a poor showing, and he looked like such a buffoon that I really thought he was just going to go back to being the governor of Minnesota and just stay under the radar. Clearly not.
No. He is stuck in the middle of a yet another scandal that he cannot spin. $1 billion, that is billion with a B, evaporated into fraudulent nonprofits tied to the state's welfare and food aid programs. Treasury is investigating, Congress is investigating, and whistleblowers say that Walz's administration was warned repeatedly and chose to look the other way. So, oh my goodness, go ahead, Clay.
Yeah. So, this was brought up by, like you said, whistleblowers. They on Twitter or X or whatever, they used their official blue check Twitter page to tell Governor Walz that this was going on. They also went through normal whistleblower channels, and it was ignored. And so we've got a couple of things going on for old Tim Walz. One of them is this healthcare fraud that's going on. And then, when something looks and smells bad, people start digging deeper. Right. And so now we've got the transportation secretary has looked into driver's licenses, and now they're talking. There has been, thousands of CDLs given illegally to people who shouldn't have a license, right? Which we saw that crackdown in California. Now you've got the same thing going on in Minnesota. And at first, the administration could have said criminal activity, right, and blamed it on criminal activity. But again, the more you scratch, the deeper you dig, and the more things you find, we find out that this is ineptitude bordering on criminal activity. In other words, negligence and willful misconduct, where they said, we know what's going on and we're just going to look the other way. So the state government of Minnesota is in deep doo-doo. Yeah,
big time. What did he have? I know it was a different flag. Wasn't there a big thing? And I know we shared it too. He had, when he did that, whatever was speech or recorded speech, he had the state flag. And wasn't it a Somali flag behind him? Or was it was another nation? I know that.
I'll have to look at this, but I saw something today. I was not aware of this, and I got distracted by other things because it seemed mildly ludicrous or somewhat unimportant, but maybe it's not. That the Minnesota state flag has been replaced. They have got a new version of the state flag, which looks very much, the Somali flag is very basic. It's blue field, white star on it. the new Minnesota flag, the old Minnesota flag was very ornate, had the state
Right.
seal on it, but it has been replaced by, I think, 2 shades of blue and a white star. It looks very similar to a Somali flag. It's very, very simple. But yes, that has not been lost on many, many people.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some great memes out there. There's one from that movie with the Somali pirates and him, that really skinny guy, and it's him saying, "I'm your governor now." And I was gonna put it up, and I was like, maybe not.
Yeah, this is, there's 2 sides to this argument, and you can't ignore both of them, because you have one, which is that this is a heavily Somali-driven fraud operation that's been going on.
Yeah.
There are a number of benefits that have been taken, taxpayer dollars out of the state of Minnesota, that have been funneled through and sent back to Somalia to Al-Shabaab or some other terrorist organization. So you've got that. And then my understanding is that most of these CDLs, very much like California, that have been issued fraudulently, illegally, have been issued to Somalis and non-American citizens. So you could say that you could blame the Somalis for the fraud.
Sure, right.
But again, the more you dig and the worse this smells, it all points back to some sort of cooperation, or at least, understanding or denial or acceptance by the state of Minnesota to allow this to happen, these things to happen. And it just is this dense Somali population that is conducting these illegal activities. And Minnesota has just said, that's cool. We're good.
Right. I want to see these officials' bank accounts. I'd like to know.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what their earnings are at this point, comparative to their income from their job. I'd like to know, what.
And throw one more thing on there, and I know this one will irritate you, being an LEO spouse. The chief of police of Minneapolis. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Had a press conference and said, when you see ICE, call 911, and the Minneapolis Police Department will go and arrest ICE agents. They will go in, so this is essentially dox ICE by calling 911, right? And then the police are supposed to react and then go interdict ICE agents from doing their job. This is the chief of police.
Wow.
And this is garbage. This is in New Orleans, where the chief of police was like, listen, we're just not going to enforce anything. This is an active role in denying ICE, their job.
Absolutely disgusting.
It is. And it's putting police officers in a very, very dangerous position, because if they go and interdict ICE, they go and try to attempt to arrest or detain ICE. At some point, there is going to be conflict. And when I say conflict, I'm not talking about grown men yelling and screaming at each other. Somebody is going to lay hands on somebody else, and it's going to get ugly.
It's going to be very, very ugly. Yeah. This is not good. And you have people like this guy and his little seditious six, basically being the dog whistle blowers for all of this and so much more going on. This was. The only thing more jaw-dropping than them making this video is the people defending it and basically saying, well, they said illegal orders. Well, you know what? Shut the hell up. Seriously. Like, give me a break. Either you're playing dumb or you're that dumb to not be able to read through the lines here. So we'll play it so everybody can see, just in case you've missed it.
Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now. Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you. We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Well then, so first of all, Mark Kelly is got to be like the angriest little troll man from under a bridge I've ever seen. Like, I don't know why he's the most miserable man on the planet, but he clearly is. That they sat down together and were like, this is a really good idea. I think we should make this video. Everybody read your lines, because they're, all clearly reading off their little script there. And let's put this out there. And I'm sure nothing bad will come of this. Feels like a really great idea. What the heck were they thinking? And doubling down. And by the way, the what's her name there? The one that went back now after and said that she cited A Few Good Men as her backup. Like, they asked her, like, well, what are the illegal orders? What illegal orders are you specifically referencing? And she's like, well, it's like a few good men. And that was it. Yeah, because I know you want to go off on this. Go.
Yeah. So here is the most dishonest part of all of this, which is saying a lot, because there's a lot of dishonesty going on here.
Yeah.
So the orders that they're talking about, there have been no illegal orders given. Okay. And they've been asked, including Mark Kelly, have been asked in a public forum multiple times, can you give us an example of an illegal order that's been given? There have been none. They can give no examples. Here's the other thing that people, unless you've been in the military, and really unless you've been in the military in the last 20 years, people don't know or don't realize. Every single year, every service member is briefed by their chain of command and or a JAG attorney, and they are briefed on the code of conduct, what is now the law of armed conflict or the law of land warfare, and the Geneva Convention. Okay. Everybody knows the rules. They know illegal, immoral, unethical orders are not to be followed. Okay. Everybody knows that. Now, when you go on an operational deployment, you are also briefed. Number one, you're rebriefed on law of armed conflict, code of conduct, and the Geneva Convention. But then you are also briefed on very specific directives for the operation or the theater that you're in. So if there are any rules of engagement, if there are escalation of force, if there's directives by the commander, you are briefed these things, again, by your chain of command and by a JAG attorney. Okay. So everybody knows those. Everybody in the last year has been given those directives. Why 6 members of Congress think that they need to come over the top and re-emphasize those things is part of the dishonesty. Also, the people who are giving the orders, quote unquote, illegal orders, are all flag level, meaning general officers or admirals, are the ones giving these orders. Those individuals are all confirmed by, guess who? Congress. Those same 6 individuals are part of the body that confirms, puts trust and confidence into those flag officers who are supposedly giving illegal orders. So who is responsible? Really?
Right.
Congress is, right? If there's a problem with one of these people giving illegal orders, Congress is responsible for confirming them and putting them in those trusted positions. So those 6 people, and as they say, oh, we're just saying it just in case.
We're just saying. We're just saying it. 1, no need to. 2, if there are illegal orders being given and they're being given by admirals and generals, you are the people who put those individuals in those positions. So all of you, shut up. Seriously. Stay in your lane. Right.
Get out of the way. And I know everybody's going to talk about Hegseth and this story about 2 strikes on a boat, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. And I know people don't want to hear this, but I spent a lot of time in combat over the last 20 years. And anybody who spent any time in a joint operations center, watched Apaches fly back and forth until they were out of ammunition, watched A-10s and close air support and all this stuff come in and listen, war is an awful thing. And we killed a lot of people. And that's what's going on here. This is international waters. These are terrorist designated organizations. And we are eliminating a terrorist threat to the United States.
Yeah.
I know people are going to say, well, there was 2 survivors. First of all, the first story said that they launched SEAL Team 6 to go kill these 2 survivors. Unbelievably untrue. Right. And then they said, oh no, they made another pass with the drone and there was another strike. Okay. Well, they were no longer a threat. Not true. Law of armed conflict.
Right.
They are still a threat. Okay. So all these former JAG attorneys, retired Army officers and senior military officers and senior enlisted guys who are voicing their opinion because they don't like the administration, they don't like Secretary Hegseth, they don't like President Trump, they don't like what's going on. they all need to remember what they've been doing what we collectively have been doing for the last 20 years,
Right.
that they were all a part of, by the way.
Right.
But there's an entire administration, the Department of War, Department of Defense, whatever you want to call it, and a litany of attorneys who have checked all of this out. And by the way, folks, it's all legal. Otherwise, we wouldn't be putting it on friggin' television.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on, use some common sense, will you? Like, really? You think they're going to just go flaunting illegal acts for everybody? Give me a break. Stop being so stupid about this, about everything, really. And, and then to play dumb like this with what we're just saying, going back to, of course, don't defy illegal orders, blah, blah, blah. Give me a break. You banked on the absolute fact that the average citizen would not know the things that Clay just shared. I certainly didn't know those things. I mean, I knew some of it because I had to research for this topic, but before that, I don't know. So if I don't know, and I'm not willing to look it up, I'm going to watch that and automatically make those connections that, that must mean that Trump is making illegal orders for our military. And that's really bad. So now I have to be angry about that. And it's another thing to be mad at Trump about. I don't need to research it because these people told me, and, they seem really official and they know what they're talking about. So why would they lie to me? And now I'm going to go tell everybody I know that, Trump is giving illegal orders to our military and they should, they knew exactly what was going to happen, which is exactly what is happening. Everyone, who's on the left or just simply a Trump hater is running with this and calling it fact and telling everybody else, this is what they freaking do. And it's so disgusting. And I hope whatever legal action that can be taken against them. They're looking into something with Mark Kelly. What are they looking at? Let's see.
Yeah. So Mark Kelly, because he is a retired officer and he's drawing a pension, the service secretary, him being a former Navy officer, retired Navy officer, the Secretary of the Navy can recall him to active duty as long as he is drawing a pension. And then they can at least conduct an investigation. They can prefer charges for court-martial, et cetera, once they bring him on active duty. And Secretary Hegseth did send a memo that he put on X that people are not happy about this either. I've seen a bunch of lawyers jump in on this too. He sent a memo to the Secretary of Navy that said, hey, former, current congressman, former captain, Navy captain, Mark Kelly is potentially doing some illegal, activities. You probably need to look into this and report back to me. Signed, Exit. Boom. And it goes, right? Listen, the SecDef has been communicating with service secretaries on stuff like this since there's been a department. This is nothing new. People are upset because he put it on Twitter. Okay, well, that's how this administration operates. And if you hadn't put it on Twitter, they would say, "Oh, he's doing it in secret."
Exactly. Yeah, there's literally nothing they can say or do this administration to appease or please, this crowd.
Yeah, and so like me, I'm in the same situation. If I did something that caused the government to, question me, I'm a retired Army officer. I'm drawing a pension. And I've not been so supportive of Secretary Hegseth, but I haven't done anything like what Mark Kelly's doing, right?
Right.
So, but if I pissed off Hegseth, he could send a memo to the Secretary of the Army that says, "Hey, recall Novak back to active duty. Tell him to shave his beard and get in uniform, and we're gonna have some words with this guy." I
will say, "Don't you dare! You can't take my co-host." No, sir. No.
But all of us, former who are drawing a pension. Officers up to, I think it's 62, it might be 65, but you can be brought back on active duty at the discretion, not even of the Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War, but of the service secretary. So whoever you belong to, whoever signs your retirement checks, that's who can bring you back on. But I actually think that they should. I really do. And I know that that's not a popular opinion with a lot of folks, but I think Mark Kelly has done this and he hasn't. He's continued to push buttons, and I think this is a point where he does need to be recalled, and I think he does need to be investigated. And I know he'll put up a stink and he'll say that he's being targeted and all of these other things. But the reality is that if you remember, for the last 4 years before President Trump got into office, what did we hear? No one is above the law.
No one is above the law,
and that includes Mark Kelly.
That's right.
And I think that what he is doing is, by definition, sedition. And I think he should be put back in uniform. And I think he should stand in front of the chain of command. And there should be an investigation.
Yes. Yeah. I hope they do it. I hope they I hope they don't just make a lot of noise, shake their fists, and threaten things. Just do it. Just do it. You know, I don't really care about all the crybabies crying about it and saying it's not fair and it's targeting and blah blah. Cry again. What do I love to say, everybody? Cry harder, cry
right.
more.
Call us
Don't
bluff.
care.
Yeah.
That's all. Do it. Because what they just did, you know, to say that it was not helpful to anyone or anything is the understatement of the week, you know, or of the day, because there's lots of understatements. But yeah, how it just, I have a weird little side note. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something, and maybe you have some insight on it. I noticed that they left out the Marines. Did you notice
None of
that?
those are Marines. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Everybody that was there, none of them. Were,
so they just addressed like their branches.
Correct.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, there were
Thank you.
no
I'm like,
no Marines in that crowd. Yeah, and that's why.
I thought it was maybe because the Marines would just all tell them to go weak themselves.
No,
You can tell I'm married to a Marine, right?
Yeah,
like, you know, I gotta be like, well, you know, they were so badass that
technically the Marines fall under Department of the Navy anyway. So
I know, but
no, they're none of them are
makes
Marines.
sense. Okay.
One intelligence officer and 5 former military officers, and the only one who's actually a retiree is Mark Kelly, which is why he is the only one who could be called to active duty.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Oh my goodness. So we'll keep watching that. If, maybe if we're lucky, we'll get to report on his hearing. Would it be like a public hearing like they do?
No.
Or would that be private? Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
That's okay. Let's move on to this guy right here. Oh my. This is always a thing, right? So Nicolas Maduro is still pretending that last year's election meant anything. Conservative outlets, foreign governments, even some regional left-leaning governments said that the whole thing was a fraud from top to bottom, which we've known that all along, or we've discussed that all along. The opposition candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez, was the real winner, and now he's in exile. Maduro responded by cutting ties with countries that dared to point out the obvious. So fun times over there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about what was the wealthiest and most up-and-coming nation in South America less than 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And then they said, very much like a few really not smart people in the United States, socialism's a great idea. And so they went to a socialist government, and now literally I've read 2 accounts where retirement pension checks are in the 50-cent range per week because that's what can be afforded to put out. The value of their money is essentially zero. So even that 50 cents is worth nothing. Vehicles are worth nothing because nobody can buy them. Houses or property value is worth nothing, et cetera. They even did a holiday, like I don't know if you saw this. There's some pictures. It was like a Thanksgiving-ish kind of meal where they had these government officials and their families, and they took pictures of them, and they all looked very happy. But if you look really close, the meals, all of the food on the place is like plastic Fisher Price. It's all fake. They couldn't even, and so anyway, so Maduro's a part of this. We all know that he's in the cartel chain of command, essentially. And this is all stemming from really us sinking all these boats in the the Caribbean. And, there's been an exchange of words between him and President Trump. He's doing some, face-saving, saber rattling, and they tried to refuse the repatriation flights of Venezuelan illegal immigrants. And then President Trump said, okay, fine, we're just going to close your entire airspace, which, drew a lot of attention because those who saw it on the economic side said, oh, well, that's just a blockade. But people from the defense side said that's clearing airspace for drone and bomber strikes potentially to go into Venezuela. And so Maduro knew that, and his military advisors told him that.
Right.
And so he panicked. And then there was a phone call between him and President Trump where a lot of things were discussed, but really not a lot was done. Phone was hung up, and then Trump basically said, hey, just shut the airspace down. And then Maduro panicked, and he called him back, and he wouldn't answer the phone. But there has been open lines of communications reestablished. And so basically what President Trump has said is leave, pack your stuff, take your family, get out. Which is what the people of Venezuela have been clamoring for.
Right.
The problem is, and he's one of his conditions is he's actually asked for amnesty, global amnesty for everything that he has done. Now, it'll be interesting to see, because I think that he's kind of selling out the cartel leadership by being like, hey, if you just pardon me and let me go, I'm cool. So they may take care of business down there.
I was going to say, I'm sure we'll be reading about his execution any day now then.
Awesome. Yeah,
right?
Make things very, very simple.
Yeah. And this is the way they deal with things there.
Yeah,
So
as
in
they
these
should.
places, you know.
And for everybody who's worked up about this and thinks that this is, essentially illegal, immoral, unethical, we did this in 1989, by the way. When we jumped in, invaded Panama in 1989, there was no, literally paratroopers in the air is when Congress got told it was happening. Okay. Wow. And this was to eliminate a dictator, Manuel Noriega, right? There was some Americans that were in jail that were freed. But it was to eliminate him as a dictator, free the country of Panama, et cetera, et cetera. This is the same thing. So we've done this before. It's not new news, but people are going to get worked up about it because it's 2025 and not 1989.
Right, right. And it's Trump and, blah, blah, blah. I just, before any of this happens, I just really, really wish we could just scoop up all those little democratic socialists, put them on a plane, on a one-way trip, and let them spend some time there and see how well their nice, friendly, lovely, kind socialism works. How it really works. I mean, obviously we all should really know this by now, but apparently, their idea is that, well, we're going to do it better.
It'll work here.
We're going to do it better. It'll work here. Because we know how to do it better, because we're calling it democratic socialism. So that's different, Yeah, how about that?
What do you know about it? Your family being Cuban and
oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, it's not like my parents and grandparents led those countries from this.
It's
but
never worked, folks.
I'm sure you guys can make it work way better. See, let's talk about New York in a year or so. Hopefully, there's enough opposition there to stop that from becoming what they're trying to make it become. But oh my goodness! Speaking of slight segue, did you see how angry they all were that Mom Donnie went and visited Trump? Did we talk? We didn't even get a chance to talk about that. We didn't, because it happened during our little break, though. Yeah. I posted probably one of the funniest pictures, to me at least. It was a picture of the two of them side by side, and Mom Donnie is leaning in, and Trump is, just it was very, very funny. Yeah, people had a lot to say about that, but yeah, they did not like that he went to spend some time kissing the ring of King Trump.
Well, and I know that there's the top of the food chain in a socialist government is never poor.
Right. Never ever.
Right.
Never ever.
And Mom Donnie knows that. He's gonna be just fine. The people of New York and the city are gonna suffer. He will be just fine in the mayor's mansion, eating very, very well and all of those things. Just like Maduro. It's the same thing. So
that's always the way it is. Always the way it is. And if these people would just get this through their thick, silly little skulls, we wouldn't have to have these conversations anymore. But so that was a recent election. Let's talk about this here. Whoa, how about that?
Yeah.
How about it? Let's see. I skipped over. Did I skip over? I'm looking at my notes, guys. Don't be judging me because I'm looking at my notes. So Tennessee 7th District just wrapped up its special election. It's a district that Trump won by over 20 points. This should have been an easy glide for Republican Matt Van Epps. Instead, Democrats poured in money, activists, and national support behind progressive organizer Afton Bain. I probably pronounced that wrong.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, thank you. But he did win, of course. Thank goodness. But that does seem to be kind of a wake-up call for conservatives, that we cannot sit back quietly. You got to be aggressive. You got to be.
Yeah. She was winning until thankfully the internet did what the internet does, as I like to say, and some things resurfaced from her past where she really talked horribly about Nashville. I really, really think that very lucky for the GOP, but I think that lost her. She didn't lose the election until the last probably 72 hours. And for those not following, what she said was, all of the things that make Nashville, right? The pedal bar, the honky tonks and the country singing and all of those things that make Nashville, she said she hates about Nashville.
And then she denied saying it, even though it's
recorded.
There's proof. It's recorded. You can watch it. You can hear it. You can see it. There's proof.
And I saw an interview, some man on the street interviews where, the younger, that the targeted progressive, that age group, right? That whole 18 to 32 window, we're all like, well, people change and we all have things that we wish we didn't say and all this other stuff. And then they talked to a couple of older folks from Tennessee, and one guy was like, I don't know how stupid you have to be, but she's not going to change once she gets in off, and he just called it like he saw it.
Yes.
But that district, thankfully, went to Van Epps. Is that his name?
Yeah, Van Epps, yes.
And who's an Army guy, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
and thankfully he carried that. So, but I do think the GOP got lucky. I really do. I think had that not resurfaced and gained some traction in the media, I think she probably would have won.
Yeah. It's really scary because this is such a familiar pattern that the right tends to just kind of sit back and count their chickens before they've hatched and just expect that they're going to win because they've won before, or because they've, just wake up and every election should be treated. And I don't care how many years or how many elections have been, in the bag, so to speak. Treat it every single time like you're fighting for your life. Like every single time, every state, every election, treat it like you're fighting for your life. We need a Scott, I don't know if you know who he is, but we need a Scott Presley in every state. Yeah. Like if we could just clone him and put him in every state, that the man is tireless and, just incredible. And we need more like him that are just going around. His, if you don't know who he is, you can follow him on X. I'm sure on other platforms too, but I think he's the most prevalent on X and maybe Instagram. He goes by The Persistence is his username, his handle. And he's a pretty incredible guy. He's out there just day after day, week after week, month after month, getting people to vote, getting them out there. And it's pretty impressive. And we need more like that. We need more people doing that. And we need more people taking it as seriously as he's trying to tell everybody to take this. And this is a great example of that, Yeah.
And you're right. This is, we have to take all of these seriously. I think there was a surge at the end, but spurred on by her own words.
Right.
And I know there was a lot of people who were kind of shocked by this because they're like, Nashville, that's, very conservative and blah, 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 blah. Well, it's not though. Like there have been so many people. Nashville is like a microcosm of Colorado. There's been a lot of, it used to be very red, very conservative, very Southern values kind of place. And then people left places like New York and Chicago and all these other places and moved to Nashville, and they brought their crap with them. So it's a very, very blue city, and dominates that specific district. So it is that telltale, how things change with the population and how people drag their values into a place, and they can flip it like you're talking about.
Yes.
Everybody has to be diligent and participate in the election. So thankfully this one got pulled out in time, and it wasn't close. I mean, it was about 8 points. But I think that up until the end, I think it was very close.
Yeah, that's scary. That's scary. You can't rest on it for sure. Not in this day and age by any means, because not only do they play the long game, as we've discussed many times, they play dirty, they play hard, and they play to win.
Yep, for sure.
They're playing for total domination. So about right, come on now, got to play the same game. Unfortunately, I mean, it's exhausting, and I'm glad I'm not in it that way to do it, because honestly, I don't have the wherewithal for all of that. I have it to tell everybody else to do it. How about that? Oh, look, come on, let's go into a fun one here. I love this one. I just love it. I love it. Here's I'm never going to be able to read it on here if I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. So I'll read it for anybody who is listening and not watching. President Trump had put out a tweet or a Truth Social. He said, any document signed by Sleepy Joe Biden with the auto pen, which was approximately 92% of them, is hereby terminated and of no further force or effect. The auto pen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the President of the United States. The radical left lunatics circling Biden around the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office took the presidency away from him. I am hereby canceling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden, because the people who operated the auto pen did so illegally. Joe Biden was not involved in the auto pen process, and if he says that he was, he will be brought up on charges of perjury. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I like how he ends every
always.
Thank you for your attention to this matter. Woo. So he says in his tweet, I'm just going to call it a tweet, guys. He says effective immediately. I had questions as to whether can he do that? How much has this been I guess investigated, like you would have to go through each and every single one and done all of those like comparisons of like where Biden was at the time of the signing, all of the things. So I guess if they've done that for every single one of these, I guess he was within his power to do it. I mean, I guess he can't say it unless he's within his power to do it, right?
Well, so because none of them are law and they were all executive orders, he can do it at his discretion. My only curiosity in this is commutation of sentences. So pardons and commutation of sentence. So if he pardoned someone or commuted their sentence who was in prison and is now rescinding those, are those people going back to jail? That is my number one question.
Right. Well,
the legality of all of the rest of it. I mean, you can overturn executive orders anytime you want. I mean, that's why law is the way to go, right? You always want those things to be made into law because then you've got Congress's backing.
Right.
But anything else, if it's just signed by the president, then the next president can undo it. It's that's how we've been playing the game for a little while. But the pardons and the commuting of sentences is the one that I am very curious about, because there's probably some folks right now who got let out of jail or whatever who and I'm not talking about the Milley and the Fauci and the entire Biden family who got the pre-pardons, even though they didn't do anything wrong. Not them, but the folks who actually were pardoned or had their sentence commuted who were in prison. Like, how does that work? Because there's some folks right now that are like packing their stuff and heading to Mexico, to get out of here.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot to unpack with that. Technically, like there's so much going on with that. Like you mentioned Fauci and the Biden crime family and all of them with the pre-pardons. So that's all null and void too. So now can they be charged and prosecuted for things? So yes, that's a yes. Okay. Awesome. So does that mean we're going to be seeing some charges coming up soon? I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath on a lot of it. I think, the Fauci is probably high on the list, although it would be tough to probably prove a lot of things, although it probably wouldn't be tough to prove some of it, or at least enough for a court of law and a conviction, because they're not going to put him on the stand without a conviction, knowing that they're going to get a conviction out of it. The January 6th stuff would be interesting to see how that plays out. In the pre-pardon or the pardons for Hunter and Joe's brother and everybody else for things that they hadn't done. That's all just, I think that's happily making all of them very, very nervous. It will probably also, well, maybe not because he's not that smart, but it'll probably get Hunter to shut up. Probably one of the big benefits. So we'll see.
Yeah, may have shaken his false sense of confidence there for a moment. It's all really interesting. And by the way, there was, if not more than one, there was just one that I saw that an aide who confessed under oath said, yeah, I absolutely used the auto pen. So, I mean, there are people concretely saying, yep, used it, without Biden being around. So like, this is concrete. This is real, guys. It's a real deal. And one of the things I keep seeing people on the left say is, complaining that all presidents have used the auto pen for as long as the auto pen has existed. Presidents have used it. So what's the big deal? Why can't you're kind of missing the point, guys, right? Like you're kind of missing the point. All the presidents have used it, not their aides, not their son, not their wife, not their best friend, not some janitor from up the street who came by to use the bathroom. You're kind of missing the point here, folks. And I don't know why that they keep trying to run with that angle of it. Like, yes, we know nobody's disputing presidents using the auto pen for signatures. The problem is everybody else using it in his name. Yeah.
Without tacit authorization, which is the right. We've talked about this because, I ran one of those things. I had,
very well.
And so that's the difference is they were literally without him being around, aware, giving authorization for. There were people literally walking into the Oval Office or wherever they had the pen and using it, like it was daddy's credit card.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's where the problem lies.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So yeah, that's I have a feeling we'll be talking about this many times more because at least I'm actually hoping that we'll be talking about it many times more, with updates on all of that. So fingers crossed on that one. Let's really quickly just touch on this real super quick. Our time is almost up, but this, this has been such a head shaker from day one, right? And for me, it's been the adoration that's been heaped on this unibrowed young man who murdered a family man in broad daylight and cowardly shot him in the back of the head, basically. But he is back in the news again because they're trying to, his defense team is trying to strike anything that he said because during his arrest, because they're claiming his Miranda rights were read to him. Is that correct? Is that about the gist of it?
Well, that and then everything that he had with him. As,
right.
I think they call, what is it? Poison fruit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the cops went in, they arrested him at the White Castle or wherever he was.
Yeah.
And then, so in his backpack was evidence that is being
right.
used. So folks, there's, three different kinds of discovery trials that go on or court appearances that go on. And right now in one of these, appearances, pretrial appearances, his defense team is trying to have a bunch of evidence stricken and not being used in the actual trial as it progresses. The scary part is that this was a year ago. It was over a year ago. And we still, like, this is where we're at. It's just at the very beginning stages of the trial process. So this is a good benchmark for people to see and hear is, this was a year ago.
Right.
And this is where we're at. So speedy trial is not a thing. And so, it's shameful that it's taken this long because the family of the CEO that was killed deserves better. But this is unfortunately where we're at right now. So hopefully the judges will move quickly on this and we can get this kid in a courtroom and in my opinion, convict him and give him the chair.
Yes. Let's hope so. Let's end on, I wouldn't necessarily call it a lighter note because it's, it's a little crazy. Black Friday stuff is always a little bit crazy, but obviously Black Friday was always a big deal, right? Record spending, however, record depth. So I guess the big to do about this is that, they're reporting record spending, but it's not necessarily that people are buying great amounts. It's like everything costs more. So it looks like it's more and people are, going into more debt, which to be honest with you, doesn't feel any different than any other year of holiday spending, right? But they're making it a big deal, I guess.
Yeah, so, the projection was it was going to be a colossal failure.
Yeah.
And then it turned around and you're right. It all depends on how you look at it, but there was more money spent. There's more spending on this Black Friday than there has been on any other record for dollars, spent that day, which I guess is, a reflection of the economy or what at least people are willing to spend or have available to spend. So,
right.
While yes, they may have gotten less for their dollar, which is entirely possible, they were willing to spend more money on Black Friday. So
right.
We'll see. But the odd part is that Black Friday, I think what's not being factored into this is the fact that Black Friday now lasts for like 2 weeks.
Exactly.
So that day, I don't know how they compiled all of this dollars spent. Was it just that 24-hour period? Because now you've got, it used to be, what was it? Like stores were opening on Thanksgiving night and it was
exactly. Yeah. It was like open, some open on like midnight, some at like.
It's been ratcheted back, which is good. I think, we're kind of giving people actual holidays.
Yes.
But Amazon started doing Black Friday the week before. So, who knows what all this means other than the fact that the Dems are upset. So that tells me something good happened out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's like the marker right there. Who's angry about it? Like who's angry about it? Oh, okay. Now I know how to feel about this. It'll be the opposite.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like like you just, I feel like I've been Black Friday shopping since, 2 weeks ago, probably. Amazon is doing everything, a million times. Yes, I know, blah, blah, blah. Amazon. Don't come for me for shopping Amazon. I love my Amazon. I don't even care that you don't like Amazon. Don't shop there.
My books are on Amazon.
Exactly. So are mine. Like, listen, Amazon basically owns me and I'm okay with it. There are just too many things to be pressed about. And that's not one of them for me. If it's for you, by all means, don't shop on there. I don't know what to tell you people. I just don't. Everybody's got to be mad about something all the darn time. Not me though. Not me. I'm going to be a happy little camper here. Happy little shopper. Once I get off of here, I'm going to go shopping again right now. I don't care. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, we did it. We actually, yes, we squeezed those last one really, really fast, but we did want to at least touch on them so that when we hit on them again a little bit later, you'll know why. I think that's all I got, Clay. Go ahead. You sign
Hey,
them
folks.
off, do the things.
Yeah, we're happy to be back. It's good to take the week off for Thanksgiving. We deserve that. You deserve it too. And Thanksgiving to everybody, and happy holiday season. And we're happy to be back. And it'll be Christmas before you know it. And as for me, always keep shooting.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Terry Davis wanted a quiet life, the Midwest, a rifle, a little peace. But trouble keeps finding him on every inch of American soil. From cornfields to the Capitol, the enemy hides in the shadows. And when the country needs one man to stand up, Terry does what he's always done. He keeps moving. He keeps shooting. The fight for America has a new battlefield. And he's already in it. The Terry Davis series available now.
From small-town love stories to battles of truth and loyalty, Elsa Kurt's books follow the same heartbeat. Ordinary people facing extraordinary moments. You'll find romance, drama, second chances, even a peek behind the microphone in her newest release. Multiple genres, different worlds, same thread. Bold truth, real faith, no apologies.
Terry Davis wanted a quiet life, the Midwest, a rifle, a little peace. But trouble keeps finding him on every inch of American soil. From cornfields to the Capitol, the enemy hides in the shadows. And when the country needs one man to stand up, Terry does what he's always done. He keeps moving. He keeps shooting. The fight for America has a new battlefield. And he's already in it. The Terry Davis series available now.